Ray, this Saturday night, moving on in Macau, Saturday afternoon, Top Rank presents once again Zou Shiming. Also on this card is Guillermo Rigondeaux, one of the best fighters in the world. Ray, you have broadcast a Zou Shiming fight live. I think it's an interesting experiment, if you want to call it that, from Bob Arum. How much upside does a 33-year-old guy with only 5 fights going into this weekend really have?
Well, here's business-wise, it makes good sense for Bob Arum, and I'll tell you why. First of all, like I said, he turned pro way too old. You know, he's a young man but an old fighter. He had an extensive amateur career, and I don't think he could fight a lick. I didn't when I first saw him fight, not a lick. But he got with Freddie Roach, and Freddie's helped refine him a little bit. His last fight, and I did the fight in February in Macau, he stayed in the pocket, and he was cute, rolling his shoulders, and he actually looked like a professional fighter. I was impressed. I truly was. If he can maintain that, great. Here's what makes sense for Bob Arum. Zou Shiming is a hero in China. And you got a country of what, 10 million, 50, how many millions of people? And if you get $5 and they pay $5 to watch him, if you got, a million people watching him, you made a hell of a score. So he's getting paid way above what normal guys are getting for 4 and 6 rounders, but he justifies it. And Bob's the smart. Bob's always been ahead of the curve when it comes to things like this. He knows now that boxing is becoming big in Asia. Russia is looking at all the Russian fighters, the Asian fighters at Olympics, and they already have a following.
Ray, I would say that Bob Arum, as it relates to Asia, he's the Christopher Columbus, and Zou Shiming is his Mayflower. You say he can't fight a lick? I don't think it matters.
I don't know. I don't know if he could.
Matters, though.
I didn't think he could. But I'm saying now I was impressed with his last outing. And I'm anxious to see him again.
Well, you said you couldn't fight a lick. You're saying now you could fight a little bit of a lick.
But you know what? Well, I got with Freddie. Freddie got him more in the pro style, sitting down in his punches, staying in the pocket. He's not throwing wild punches, running around the ring like an amateur. He's actually looked like a professional fighter.
He's 33 years old, so the ceiling is very limited. But Ray, I'll argue with you. It doesn't matter if he could fight at all because he's that important. He's actually set the market in Macau. And the job, the most important people in this process are Bruce Trampler, Brad Goodman, and Sean Gibbons. Because the matchmakers, their job, and I still never forget, when Bob Arum fired a matchmaker by the name of Ron Katz after he got Butterbean beat, because there are certain guys, I don't want to call them novelties, but Ray, you know the business. There are certain guys that are untouchable. They're not there to have real fights.
No, and Butterbean was one of them. Butterbean was one. He was a king of the 4-rounders. I mean, you wouldn't go to anything more than a 4-rounder, and he was a novelty, and it was entertaining because he came to fight. So you got to have that entertainment element to any fight, and he brought it.
What I find interesting about this card, we have one of the best prize fighters in the world, or a boxer, if you want to call it that. Guillermo Rigondeaux, now this is an insult in a lot of ways, but it's also the marketplace reality. Guillermo Rigondeaux, in my opinion, whether you like his style or not, Ray, has to be considered among the bluest of the blue chippers. One of the top 3 or 4 practitioners of the sweet science. Not only is he not on HBO 2, he's on Una Mas. Number 1, should he be insulted? And number 2, should there be a greater appreciation for his skill set?
First of all, should he be insulted? No. Should we be insulted? Yes. His fighting is an insult. Again, he's not in the amateurs. That's what they don't get. When you turn pro, in American, you want to turn pro. It's a pro game. It's the hurting game. That's the difference. You're not fighting for trophies. You're not fighting for medals. You got an obligation. And this is what fighters that drive me fucking nuts. I'm allowed to say that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They drive me nuts that they don't understand you have an obligation to the paying public to give them the best fight possible. Guys like Rigondeaux, guys like Lara don't care because they're so set in their ways from that amateur program that they wonder why people don't appreciate it. Because they stink the joint out. That's it. But he's a good fighter, yes. Great technical skills, yes. But he's fighting in the pro game. It's the hurting game. You got to put on a show.
Yeah, they'd say about guys like Guillermo Rigondeaux, let people in for free, charge them to leave. And because the professional boxing is the entertainment business. And they asked the great Customato one time, what is professional boxing all about? And so someone said about hit and not be hit. No. He said putting asses in the seats. So what the question is, as someone that was once in there, should boxers care about entertaining the masses?
Absolutely. That's your first obligation is to win. Second, do it in an entertaining way. Absolutely, you got to entertain the paying public because guaranteed. I just got hit up on Twitter because I tweeted the other night about the Lara fight, Canelo fight. I mean, what a stinking fight it was. And one of these guys followed me and said, "Ray, you understand? The Americas is irrelevant now. What does the Cubans or the Mexicans care about what the Americans think?" I said, "We are the only thing they should care
Still
about."
fighting here, aren't they?
That's exactly right. We're the only thing they should care about. American television, the American fight fan, because we pay the freight. Nobody else pays the freight. We do. Because it's real simple. American television dictates who you fight, when you fight, and for how much. If we don't like it and we don't buy into it, and you don't, that's it. You'll be fighting like Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux beat Nonito Donaire, one of the top pound for pound fighters in the world.
You must have hated watching that.
You must have
hated that.
And I couldn't stand it. And when's the last time you've been on television? Hoover was president back then. So that's what I'm saying. He doesn't mean anything to the American boxing, to American television. It means absolutely nothing.
Our mutual friend Larry Merchant had a great line about that fight. He says, opening up a fine bottle of wine and getting grape juice. I mean, it was an absolute letdown. It really was. When you look at a guy like Rigondeaux, though, he was a two-time Olympian, and I remember watching him at age 19 in 2000 Olympics. That had Miguel Cotto, it had Ricardo Williams, Rocky Juarez, Jeff Lacey, a lot of other great champions. At age 19, he was literally the best boxer at that games in Sydney. When you go through 2 Olympics and you're in that Cuban system, once you get to America, as they say, Ray, you are what you are. There is no changing these guys.
That, in many ways, exactly. Fighters are what they are. But that's my point. Steve, they have to understand, we're into the American boxing, the American professional game now, which means you have an obligation to the paying public. If you're going to get paid X amount of dollars, and don't complain when you ain't getting paid the big money because you're stinking the joint out, you have an obligation to the American public, to the American fight fan, who you expect to pay for these fights, to give them the entertainment they deserve.
Yeah, Ray, I agree with you. That's the difference between socialism in Cuba and American capitalism. There is an element where this is entertainment.
And this is why guys are risking going over the Atlantic with shark-infested waters on life rafts to make it so they could actually make some money and feed their families. Do the job, man. Do what you're supposed to do and give them an entertaining show.